Just testing. It should all be working. Hi. So it looks like we are live. Are you excited?
Yay. Hi, everyone.
We love technology. So
I do, and all of its challenges. So,
yes, it's so good. So I don't know if we're live everywhere yet. I think it's still working its way.
okay.
Let's see. Friends. Nope, it says, okay. So Lindsay, it's here, our 3-day growth challenge. How fun is
Yay.
it? Are we so excited?
I'm very excited. It's going to be awesome. So, yay.
So I want to share a little bit with everybody about why we wanted to do this so badly.
Mm-hmm.
To make sure that, everyone kind of knows the story. Because sometimes, I don't know if you've experienced this, when people give you so much tactical stuff, you're like, okay, I can't take it in. Like I sometimes need to step away and go, oh, well, this is why. So for me, and I'm sure I've been talking to so many business owners lately, as I know you do all the time. And for me, it's always has been, how can I attract really great talent and build really great client relationships? Like that's always what it's been about.
Mm-hmm.
And then with digital marketing just going on fast forward, it was like, oh, how do you do all the things, right?
Yeah.
So I remember being that overworked, desperate mom, business owner, marketer, laying on the floor wanting to cry. And
Yeah.
I knew something had to give. It was literally like that moment. So
Yeah.
the reason I'm so passionate about helping business owners get any of the tips and like things that will help them is so we can prevent other people from having to lay on the floor and feel like they're going to die.
Yeah.
And that is exactly the moment when I was like, okay, I cannot do this. This is crazy. Let's get clear about what's going on. And that's when I asked myself, okay, what is the thing that keeps coming up for me as this roadblock that I cannot overcome? And it was that I needed to get educated on what was really possible with the time I had.
Yeah.
So that's what, what led me to find you and go back to college and say, okay, I need to understand marketing for real and not just like the fake jargon that's just there's so much misinformation.
Yeah.
And the thing I keep going back to, and I don't know if you say this to people ever, but I keep going back to like, if we could learn how to do everything from like some random stranger on YouTube, right? Like then no one would ever make anything and sell it because you have all that. So the thing is, you have to cut through the noise.
Yeah.
I had a client reach out to me that had moved to Florida at one point, and she did her hair because of something she read on YouTube. And I said, oh, okay, but no, don't do that. You know better. Right. Well, why is it on the internet? Like I cannot purify the internet for you, though I would love to.
We would all love to.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is the thing of like giving people access to your amazing wisdom, totally for free, and hopefully cut out a lot of clutter and all the chaos that's happening on the internet.
Yes. I've been talking to people about this a lot lately because I've been getting more and more clear on who my customer is. And with the clarity about who my customer is, and I've been in business for years and years and years. And for those of you who are like, but, I've been in business for 4 years and I still have a hard time identifying my customer. I've been in business for 11 years and I still have a hard time like pinpointing exactly who that customer is. And the more clarity I get around it, the better I feel about the entire process. But my point in bringing that up was that even I getting clarity with who my customer is have been more and more facing down the fact that the internet is unfortunately full of information that is not applicable. So I won't say it's misinformation, but like, going back to the idea of hair, like I have a very specific texture of hair, a very specific porosity of hair. And if I watched YouTube videos of all the like lovely ladies who have completely different hair types as me and completely different like lifestyles and everything, it was like, I want my hair to look like hers. I could end up walking around looking completely insane because I didn't burnt my hair off my head, or because I didn't chemically processed it to crap, or or it turns into straw or whatever. And the idea of, it's not that the information isn't applicable to someone, it's just likely not applicable to you. And for us as people who teach people this stuff, that's the hard part, is saying to someone, like, what you watched wasn't a bad tutorial. It's just that you ain't that person. And so you need different information. You need to understand maybe the fundamentals so that you can come up with a plan for yourself, instead of trying to do what everyone else did for their thing. You're not that person. You don't have the same audience. You don't have the same, to use the hair analogy, you ain't got the same texture. And so this is not going to work the same for you.
I love you using that analogy, because it's true. Like, marketing can be the same way, that every single hair fabric is its own entity. It's its own fabric. They're not alike.
They're not.
You have to know enough. You have to know enough about, okay, this is something I could actually use. And I love that you're putting marketing in that context, because I think that is really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
That can really help people in the sense that there might be bits and pieces, but you have to be educated enough. And that's what, you're going to share with us, how to really kind of put it through a filter of what's going to apply to our business, to our fabric of hair, like, whatever it is that we really need.
And then, if you think about, again, using that hair analogy, and I love that your audience will totally understand this. Like, if you go and you buy a box of color at the store, not that I'm advocating that you do this, but if you do, when you go.
Let me just say, we're not advocating anybody does that, but go ahead.
No. And so, but if you do, what it says on the box. It says, test this somewhere, like in the back of your head where no one's going to see it. Because if for some reason this process does not work, you do not want to have your whole head looking crazy. And the thing about marketing is that often I kind of teach the same thing. Like, I want people to test different things, because, essentially when you're at the beginning, everything in the internet is the back of your head. Like, no one's looking at you, right? And so you can test out different things, but you can't expect to get the exact same results as someone else, and look and have your hair or whatever your business presence look exactly the same as someone else's. Just because you admire how that looks, again, the fabric of your business, just like the fabric of your hair, is different from someone else. And so the way that applies to you is going to look and feel different. And what we have to acknowledge is some of that is what's that thing? Like, it's not imposter syndrome, that thing where you comparison. It's the comparison thing where we are like, oh, well, I love what such and such does, so I want to look just like that. And the reality is, you can love what someone else is doing, and somewhere inside of you, it would be fantastic to recognize that you can have your own version of that will be fitting for your business, fitting for your audience, fitting for your customer. But you should not at all attempt to exactly replicate that person's thing, because it isn't going to fit. And so the more we try to replicate and look exactly like other people, the less in actuality we look like ourselves, and the less awesome we look in general. So it ends up being a bad look, like in general. So,
well, that's interesting that you say that, because I was a very late bloomer when it came to understanding how to share like a marketing message. And when you said, oh, being in business 12 years, or someone says, oh, I've been in business 5 years, and I've been in business over 20 years in some way, shape, or form. And I think you're always clarifying that message.
Yep.
And things are changing so fast.
Yep.
That's why I say, I was such a late bloomer to this. I didn't understand that. So the idea of social media was to actually be social, like, because I was like, this is so awkward, because you're like looking over here, like, do I have to be so polished and all put? And it's like, no, actually, the reason people connect in person is because the person shines through. So once I really realized, like, yeah, there are certain tips and things that are always changing. And that's why I'm so grateful that you're going to share those with us. But you have to put yourself as the person in it. Yeah. That was like a game changer. Then I'm like, oh, this is fun.
Yes.
I even think I called you up and said, hey, I'm having fun.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's not crazy. Like
it can be fun. You just have to kind of think of it a bit more in terms of, like you said, you are a human, your customers are humans. It doesn't matter what you sell, whether you're business to business or business to customer. everybody who is transacting with you is a person. And so when you transact as a person and you represent your business as a person, it helps a ton with your social media. When you try to remove yourself from your social media, remove all personality from your social media, is when you end up with social media that falls flat. And when I say that, don't get me wrong, we all know we have things that we probably shouldn't share with other people, like little personality quirks that we should keep to the family. And I'm not saying that you should put that stuff out in the street, but I am saying that it is really great to be an authentic representative of your business. How about that? Like, there's nothing wrong with that on social media, right?
I like that. I like that authentic representative of
an authentic representative.
I'm writing that down. I like that.
Yes.
So
we all, that's something that I had to come to terms with for myself, because I was one of those people who was like, I don't want to be my business's representative. And the reality is your business has a representative. It's either you or it's somebody else. And so let us all decide who the representative is, and let's be it on purpose.
Let's let that part shine a little bit.
Let that part shine. Yeah.
It is true, because if you're not the one telling this story, someone else is going to tell it for you. So it might as well be, it's the same thing within your business, right? If you don't set the tone and culture. So that makes sense. Like you've got, they all kind of flow together.
Yeah.
And that, like for today, so that we could really talk about sort of removing those roadblocks and things that get in, that kind of stop people before they get started.
Yeah.
That's what I would love if we could uncover today. As we talk about doing like the assessment of where you are.
Yeah.
I think sometimes we go, right?
Yeah.
It's just like we fall into these little pieces that make us go, oh, I can't even get started. So
yeah.
What do you think of that? Does that sound like a good thing for us to chat about today?
Yes, let's do it.
We're just having tea chatting about it this morning.
I also have my tea.
I know, it's so good.
So okay, let's talk about like the self-assessment. So if you have the workbook, if you don't have the workbook yet, I'm sure Tracy has a link somewhere for you to get it.
I think the link is below the video, wherever they're watching it.
Wherever they're watching, okay.
I included it on everything, so hopefully it's coming through.
Good. And so what the visibility assessment is, the first thing you see in the workbook. And then the second thing is a roadblock conversation, like with yourself. And in the visibility assessment, I have it up next to me. That's why you see me looking over. I really want you to, when you're looking at this, think about these things in a positive, critical way, not a negative, critical way. So like, I'm a big fan of being honest with yourself. So a few of the things on here are questions about your ability to be regular and updated and things like that. And so I want you to kind of think of those things in an honest and self-critical but positive way. So a good example would be, is your LinkedIn profile updated? So a part of your visibility self-assessment needs to be looking at your social media profiles, the ones that are actually representing you, like your LinkedIn profile, and seeing whether or not it is up to date. Does it have accurate information on it? Are you representing yourself and your business properly? The reason why I look at places like LinkedIn, and you all who are like, why is she talking about LinkedIn? LinkedIn is a visibility platform. It's so interesting to me that people forget that each platform has a purpose. Instagram is not a visibility platform. It's a platform that people love to use to pretend that it's a visibility platform, but Instagram is not searchable, meaning that in order to find something or someone on Instagram, it has to like deliver it to you, like they have to suggest it to you in some sort of fashion most of the time, or someone needs to know about you from some other context. And if you think about yourself and your own usage of Instagram, you'll realize the reason why you're following certain people is because you found them somewhere else. The majority of the people you follow on Instagram are not because you saw them on Instagram in some kind of way. It's because you saw them in another platform and then went over and followed them on Instagram. And so remember how the world really works. If you found someone on Instagram, you may have found them via a hashtag, which again is because you were searching that hashtag. Hashtags make you visible, but Instagram in and of itself does not. And so visibility platform like LinkedIn makes you visible because if someone searches your name or your business, your LinkedIn profile is going to come up, period. It's like the second thing that comes up in search when someone searches for your name. So why not have it be up, available, and looking really great? So when anyone is looking for you, your best representative shows up to show them who you are. So that's what I mean by like a visibility assessment. And so there's a bunch of other things like your Google business profile, making sure that that's up to date for your actual business. Because again, if someone Googles your business, the first thing that's going to show up is your Google business profile. So is that up to date? Is the information on there accurate? Are you posting to that regularly? If you have a Pinterest account, is it up to date? Because Pinterest is another platform that serves people information based on search. And what we want with visibility is to be found when someone is looking for either us or looking for someone like us. We want to be the best representative of ourselves on those platforms. So I hope that makes sense to everyone, that like the idea that the visibility self-assessment is, what are you doing right now on these different channels to be visible? I have also included an assessment on YouTube. Like,
I love that you did that. Yeah.
How are you representing your business and yourself on YouTube? Because these are platforms that people are searching for answers. They're searching for you. They just don't know that they're searching for you. And so if we are not representing ourselves well on these platforms, then if we do get found, we will be a poor representation of ourselves and our business, and people won't choose us, or we won't get found. And so you want to make sure that these, like, if you're here and you're talking with us right now, LinkedIn, your Google business profile, your website, your Pinterest account, your YouTube channel, those are the main ways that you're going to be visible. And yes, you should have your Instagram bio updated with a link. Absolutely. So that when someone finds you on another platform and they come follow you on Instagram, they actually have something to look at. Like, you have full information. Right. They have a link to click on. All of that information is there. But when you get the self-assessment, you'll see that Instagram is down at the bottom, not because it's not useful, but for everybody who puts it first as a business owner, as the brand. You are the brand that all the influencers are trying to get your attention. And so you need to make sure that you're set up as a business and not trying to be set up as an influencer. They are two different things. Okay. Very different things. So that's kind of the self-assessment. What do you think about like roadblocks? Now we're talking about that. What are the roadblocks that you think people are having as it relates to setting up a proper LinkedIn profile, or setting up a great YouTube channel, or just simply having a really good bio for Instagram?
So I think the number one thing, and I wrote this down because I was like, okay, this is the number one thing that comes up. I wrote down like the 5 main things that are roadblocks that seem to get in the way for almost every business owner, person, anybody when this kind of stuff is the topic. And the number one thing is like getting really clear about what you want. And I mean that in the sense of like the greater purpose that you serve. So often people will be like, I need to grow my staff because I need more. That's amazing. We can do that. That's the whole point of getting visible. It's not just about attracting clients.
Right.
But we sometimes forget to really think about it in a bigger way. That's like, if you're really clear about the purpose that you serve, what you're trying to do, like all my years in the salon industry, I wanted us to always be known for doing really great color, like that. Like we were known for color. So even hairdressers that messed up their own color would be our clients, right? So we are really known for that. And we had a really great guest experience. Like that, those are important to me in my heart. That were like what I'm passionate about. So every goal you set from that is different. So transitioning to now having the podcast, the book, I'm really clear first that I want to help business owners, hairdressers, salon owners really understand how to make a great living and have a profitable business, right?
Yeah.
Because no matter what we try to convince ourselves, there's only 100 pennies in a dollar.
Yeah.
That's it. So we've got to always know how to be profitable with every dollar we make.
Yeah.
So that's sort of that bigger picture. So I always see this as the number one roadblock, because when we're not clear enough with ourselves, like if we're lying to ourselves about this, what comes up is that we chase after every single thing that someone says, like
everything,
grammar, So that to me is the biggest roadblock, is taking that minute to do the assessment so that you can get really clear about the bigger picture, not just like that one thing.
No, I absolutely love that. I think that is so clear and so true. What do you think about limiting beliefs? I know I can think of a few limiting beliefs that people might have around visibility, but you know your audience better than I do.
That's number 2 on here. Yeah. So the next step after you're clear, like the bigger purpose, and then you're like, okay, so I really know what I stand for. Then I can start attracting those clients, the staff members, whatever it is that you really need. The next is you have to believe it's possible.
Oh God, yes. Yeah.
That's just it, right? Because no matter what, whether you believe this to be true or not, whatever you believe is true.
So, what did Ford say? Whether you believe you can or you believe you can't, you're right.
You're right. Yeah. So you can be right, but let's be on the right side of being right. Let's believe it's possible.
Yeah.
Right? Let's be people that dream, oh my God, like this is really possible.
Yeah. One of my favorite things that I journaled about it this morning because it was so impactful for me is my sister and I were sitting around. My sister's in town for my mother's birthday and my older sister. And we were sitting around talking and talking about swimming. We were watching the Olympics and she was like, is there some sort of secret to floating? And I was like, no, the natural state of your body is to float. Like the secret is to not sink. Like it's not like when I say that applies so well to limiting beliefs, because she's like, no, there has to be a secret. And I'm like, no, literally everybody floats. Like literally everybody floats. It's actually the opposite. That's the hard part. Like getting your body to swim or sink is what the unnatural thing is. Your natural state of being is on top of the water. And she was like, but it doesn't come to me that way. And it was like, the thing that we're doing whenever we're sinking or whenever we are not being visible, we're shrinking back, is that we are essentially saying to ourselves that the natural state of being isn't natural. So everyone's natural state of being is to be seen. And what we like to do a lot of times is to pretend that that is not the natural state of being. We want to pretend that we are invisible. You are not invisible. And so to have the limiting beliefs of like, well, I shouldn't boast, or I shouldn't brag, or I shouldn't have, like, a lot of those beliefs are like running in people's heads in the background. And so when we say things like update your LinkedIn profile, they're like, well, I don't have anything to say. And they have like 15 awards that they've won, and they have different organizations that they are on the board for, and they have all of these different things that they're doing and that they're already contributing. They're like, but I only have my one little thing. So I'm like, this is dumb and I don't want to do it. And I'm like, so if you find yourself saying, this is dumb and I don't want to do it, I want you to hear in reality, I feel unworthy of being on this platform. And so I don't want to participate because I don't feel like a real professional. And so I don't want to be on LinkedIn because I'm just a hairdresser or I'm just a whatever. And that is some nonsense. Like that is a straight up limiting belief. Right. And it is unreal. Right. And I realize that it's real to you, just like my sister feels like it's real that she can't float. And I'm like, but yes, your natural state of being is on top of the water, just like your natural state of being is being visible. Yeah. And so we have to accept that is the natural state of being and walk directly into it.
I love that. I don't know if you remember, but like the last chapter of Beyond Common 12 Essentials to Success in the Workplace is stop lying to yourself. Like it literally is that, because we do it all the time. Yeah. And it's like a lot of it stems from like the different beliefs. So it is first believe it's possible. And when you just said that about, oh, well, I'm just a hairdresser, that is so common, and why a lot of professionals, it's taken them a long time to get on LinkedIn because they do see it as like, oh, it's like this stigma of, how they look at it. So that's really interesting.
Yeah. It's how they look at, it's not just how you look at the platform, it's how you look at yourself. And so if you're seeing yourself as like, well, I'm just, if you add an I'm just in front of whatever you do, you're invalidating yourself.
I agree.
And so there is no such thing as I'm just, like I am connected to janitors on LinkedIn. There is no such thing as I'm just, the thing that a platform like LinkedIn or this is not a LinkedIn speech, but the thing about a platform like that is that it gets you more visible. And so if you're already looking for visibility and you're looking for that, like, I don't want to say validation because you are valid, period, whoever you are and whatever you are doing is valid already right now. But if you are looking for visibility and that professional polish and all that stuff that we want as business owners, the first place that you should get straight is LinkedIn, because that is the first thing that comes up when anyone looks for you. And so there are other platforms that do serve that purpose as well. that LinkedIn ends up in all search, Bing, whether you're on Google, whether you're whatever, Yahoo, it doesn't matter what you're searching on, LinkedIn comes up like first or second. So why would we deny ourselves the ability to be visible in a really positive and completely within our control? Like LinkedIn is on one of the other platforms, one of the only platforms where almost everything that shows up about you is 100% in your control.
Right. Instead of all the other, no, that I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because some of it you're like, wait, why are they randomly showing this post from like forever ago? Yeah.
Yep. On LinkedIn, everything that shows up is because you said so. Like you put it out there, you direct the path. And again, not a LinkedIn pitch, but the idea is if we want to be visible, if that's part of what the aim is, we should make sure that we're doing it in a way that's going to be useful to us and not denying ourselves access because we don't believe we're worthy, right?
Well, and because so many people that we talk to day in and day out right now are really, oh my God, I need to hire people. There's no people to hire. It's interesting because that is a very easy in your way to control. And it's very simple.
Yeah.
And people will chase down the rabbit hole, so many complicated things.
Yeah.
You're right. That is a simple way to stand out so that more people that are looking for jobs can see who you really are.
Yeah.
And ideally, if we could attract the type of talent into every business that has similar values and like imagine how, I mean, that's always like what I'm most passionate about is like, don't you want to work with people that like really want the same things when it comes to how you serve people and creating ripples of positivity in the world? Like believing that you're worthy of looking in the mirror and saying, I'm amazing and about this. Like that kind of thing. So it is true that there are so many little like, and I'm so grateful that you're sharing that because I did not know that until I met you. So, and of all the things I was like, oh, this one golden nugget, I know I need to have Lindsay talk. Like I even forgot about that one. So thank you for bringing that up because I was like, oh, this thing. And then of course you always have new stuff too. So I'm just like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And it is, but I did not think about it being part of the limiting belief, but that is very true. That the next thing that pops in, I'm just we have to remove that. Like that's just pick it out. Pick it out. Yeah.
Yep. Stop yourself from saying it, please and thank you. Forever and ever. Right. There is no I'm just a.
Exactly. Right? No, because like you're exactly where you are. You're absolutely worthy of all the success, all the visibility, attracting all the clients and team members you need. It's just you have to stand in that belief.
Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, that's so good. So the next thing I wrote down for obstacles was that people will like they'll try something and then it won't work because they didn't do it right, they didn't understand, or they halfway tried but got in their head. So I put as the next thing that's so important is to be results and problem like the sort of solutions oriented, because I think it is about like, okay, the computer's not going to blow up.
No.
You are not blowing up the internet.
Nope.
Everyone in the world is not going to see your like, your boob on the internet. Like it's not going to be like that. So, like you can make a mistake and still try again tomorrow. Try again in 5 minutes. I think we just get in our head about, oh, well, I tried that. It doesn't work for me.
Oh, I love that. I have that constantly. Of course, I interact with people on a regular basis who are small business owners. And often people will be like, oh, well, I did that and it didn't work. And I'm always like, so, everything you said about like failure in the first try is like, I don't know, for almost everything on the planet, that's the reality. There's very few things that we get right the first time. I mean, like, for real, I can't think of one. Like there isn't very much of anything anyone gets right on the first try. When you first started cooking, everything you cooked tasted horrible. When you first started, like there's no thing. You first started walking, people use that as an example. You fell constantly. You were very fortunately just too young and dumb to know. So you just kept trying. Unlike with like marketing and other things, the second we fall down, we're like, well, I guess that wasn't meant to be. And I'm like, or you could keep trying. And so there's that function of like, failure first is pretty much the way that things work. So whatever you're trying to do that's new, you're likely not going to get it right the first time, even if you follow the instructions perfectly. And again, if you've ever cooked and followed a recipe to cook maybe a cuisine in a different ethnic group than you are and you didn't grow up with the first time you cook that thing, how likely is it to be good? Very, very unlikely. And so but that try thing, definitely ingraining yourself, try again. But then in addition to that, a lot of things with marketing take time. So it's not just about trying to get it right. Once you do get it right, often the thing that you have to do with marketing behaviors is continue to do them over and over again in silence, like with no one watching. Because visibility does not come overnight. You will not snap your fingers and have 1,000 YouTube subscribers. That is not how this works. And because it's not how it works, we get confused because we see people who look like overnight successes or overnight sensations. Oh, well, they just started their channel. There are so few people who just started their channel and became hits. And whenever it does happen, the internet goes into an uproar. And then you find out later that the person who was an instant hit worked in marketing for 25 years before they started their YouTube channel. And they spent a year preparing for it. Like they outlined all the keyword phrases that they were going to use and all these things. And then on top of all of that, with all the success they had, some very huge portion of them being an overnight sensation was luck. And so it's not as if, it just doesn't happen. So whatever you're expecting from this visibility try or play, expect to do it again and again and again, and be okay with that. Just like everything else, just because you walked once and did not become a runway model the first time doesn't mean that you just stop walking because the thing that you wanted to happen the first time didn't happen. We have to keep trying. We have to keep working at things. And that's part of, I think, another limiting belief and a roadblock, both roadblocks and limiting beliefs there, is that the idea that I failed the first time, so I should never do it again. And then the idea that I tried, like I did it perfectly right. And then my results did not come the first time, so I should never do this again. Neither one of those is a good reason to not keep doing something. Like just because you didn't become an overnight sensation on Pinterest doesn't mean that Pinterest sucks, which is what I hear people say. And I'm like,
so if we wanted to maximize the way that we do something like that, like knowing, okay, it's not going to work the first time. It's not going to work the first time, but we have to believe it is possible, right? So we believe it's absolutely, I know it's going to happen, but then I can't put a timeline on it. Like so you have to know it's possible. And then almost like bless and release it. Like you fall into it, like you said with the floating.
Yep.
So because people want to know, okay, well, how can I get there faster? Well, faster is at least taking the step, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, like how much time should they give it? Like, so if I try something, and I'm a person that knows like, well, that didn't work, but all right, I got to try it this way. Or, okay, let's look at what did work and apply, this, we'll keep what was working. We'll get rid of what wasn't, and then we'll do it again. So knowing that, like, what would you say is like a good strategy? Like, okay, the first time it's going to be a mistake. So what do I do next? To kind of help people understand that there is a faster road if you don't just like quit in the middle and lay down.
Yeah.
Like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah. I think that the best thing that we can do is kind of the work that we're going to do tomorrow is determine what success looks like and start measuring towards that. And then determining how long you want to give yourself before you will stop thinking this is unsuccessful. So, and what I mean by that is like, again, using the floating example, floating is the natural state of being. Like we know this, just like we know a lot of other principles in life, our bodies float. But just because you practice floating doesn't mean you're going to get it the first, second, third time. You may float perfectly the 15th time you try to float and then not float the 16th. So it is often that a lot of the things don't have a real time marker because the real work is to, like you said, bless it and release. And so for me, what I encourage people to do is set smart automations for themselves so that they are not out there attempting to do something over and over again and then feeling almost the impact of the trying. You want to make the trying and the blessing and releasing be automatic so that you're not sitting around waiting for the results to happen. Because the more you sit around and wait for it, it's almost like being in the water and waiting for yourself to float. The more you're doing that, you get more tense and you start sinking. And so you're like almost working in the opposite direction of what you actually want to happen. So the more we can kind of set some automations and move on, the better off we will be, because we won't be waiting for the floating to happen. And so when the floating does happen, we'll just be like, oh, we're floating. Like, you'll get it and you'll be floating and it'll be great. And you won't have been worried about it the entire time. So setting the automations, doing your core business, again, because we're talking to business owners, you have a core business. You are already having some level of success with whatever you're doing right now. So don't look at whatever the marketing activity is as something that's like, okay, it needs to work within 3 weeks or I'm going to give up. How about you need to work for 3 weeks to get automation set up so that it can be going on in the background? And you don't have to think about it. And then that way, when it starts working, you good.
Yeah.
No matter what. Like,
so funny. That's so funny. In like the goal setting training that I teach, I talk about the life automations. Like, just like there's certain things that we need to get off our plate. And I love that about marketing. So are we going to get into like some of the ways they can set up automations on the third day? Okay. Awesome.
Yeah. We'll talk about automations and visibility and like how to make things work for yourself.
I love that. Oh, I'm so excited. See, I was like, I love this, because I'm like, I need some more of these in place, because my business has changed so much since the last time I did like training and stuff with you. So I'm so excited. So I love that this puts us right into the next thing that I put on my list when we're talking about roadblocks, because you said 3 weeks, like if you change it and reframe it to like, okay, give yourself 3 weeks to set up a specific automation, because you're already working hard. You're already in your business working on it.
Yeah.
So it's not like you can say, oh, I have this many hours a week to dedicate and it's going to be amazing in 30 days. It just doesn't work that way.
Nope.
So we need to, set realistic goals that are clear, measurable, like that sort of smart automation. I love that. Because the next thing I put is that so often people will spend so much time thinking about something. And this is true for creatives and my salon owners. I love you, hairstylists. I love you. But we are so guilty of this. This is like to the core. We thought about it so much in our creative brain that we're exhausted. We need to take one move. So my next thing is like, we have to overcome that roadblock of action, just thinking about it. Like I always say, oh, precious, people don't pay you for what you think. They pay you for what you do.
Yeah.
So you have to take it. So we have to.
I'm going to totally steal that, by the way. People don't pay you for what you think. They pay you for what you do. And it's so true, though. But marketing ends up being one of those things where people are like, okay, I'm thinking about how I'm going to do this. I'm thinking, and I'm like, the longer you think about it, the less activity and things I have this problem within my own team, where there are team members of mine who are like, okay, I'm going to do this and practice and then I'll be ready. And I'm like, the only way to be ready is to do it and then like see results and then figure out whether or not you're like, you can't practice swimming out of the water. You have to just get in the water. And often, like, I love this stupid swimming analogy because it works so well. Like, you cannot practice swimming. You can't practice floating on the ground. Like, you have to be in the water. And so for all of us who are like, oh, okay, I want to be visible, so I need to do this. I need to get my hair right. That's like, I need to find the right swim cap and the right swimsuit and the right goggles and you need to get in the water. You need to get in the water, because none of those things, like having all those things is going to be nice, but none of them is going to make you float. You still have to actually do the mind work of like not sinking. Like the mental work of not sinking is what you have to do, but you can only do that in the water. And so like the same thing with almost every marketing activity, the work that it actually takes, you have to do it in the water. Like you have to do it in the internet. You have to do it live. And the only way to do that is to just get in there and start doing it. And like you said, set some time that you're going to work on doing it and then set yourself up for success so that you don't have to think about it anymore.
Yeah, I love that, because it is true, like the action part. But that is so true how the floating analogy works, because, right, what am I going to do? Sit here like this? This is not, right? It's never going to give us the actual, I as somebody that is an overcoming perfectionist myself, but it was more about the people pleasing that led me down. I always say I'll be a work in progress forever. The thing is that, you're just like, oh, you just want to make sure everyone's happy. So you like, don't. So I always say, trust me, if I can do it with that elephant sitting right there, and no matter how many times I've learned this lesson and I, every day overcome it in a new way,
Mhm.
it'll still creep up on me where I'm like,
Yep.
why didn't I do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I had to take action.
Yep.
So I have such empathy for anyone going through that because I have been there, and
Mhm.
it doesn't ever go away.
No.
It's not like, oh, I learned this today, so, oh, now I know this forever. It is just that thing that's a constant work in progress. It's not set it and forget it, even though I wish
Yep.
it was, even though I wish it was.
Yeah. We all
But
do.
some of these marketing things we can set up to be like automated,
Yeah.
which is exciting to me.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yep.
Loving that. So the last thing that I put for the list of like roadblocks was to learn, like you have to learn what you don't know. Because so
Mm.
often it's like if you want a different result and you're doing this and you're just going to keep trying to work harder, and we've all been here, so this is no judgment, but
Mm.
you're like, oh, I'm going to work harder, I'm going to get a bit, but the same thing, it's like the definition of insanity.
Yep.
So there's a gap between what you want and what your current skills are allowing you to achieve.
Yeah.
So we need to seek out the trained experts that will
Yep.
help you get there faster, just even by telling you, hey, you saying right now to whoever is here joining us today, you saying that can help someone say, okay, so I should set a 6-month timeline on trying to accomplish X, Y, and Z.
Mm-hmm.
That will allow them to have that positive mindset of
Yeah.
really going through this process in a way that doesn't stress them out.
Mm.
So it's like seeking that knowledge, and it's going to be different for everybody. How do you sort of measure, like if you need something in your business,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, you've been trying, like how do you seek out the knowledge that you need to get?
Oh, I love this question. So for me, I like to think of it like this. If there's something that I don't have an expertise in, period, whatever the thing is, then I know that I need to either seek out a person or a software to help me do the thing. So whatever the expertise area is, sometimes with the software, even you need to find a person before you find the software in order to teach you how to optimize for the software. So a perfect example would be like your books or whatever. So you might not be able to afford a bookkeeper. So QuickBooks does bookkeeping, Wave does bookkeeping, but none of them does anything if you don't know how to do categories and where to place things and stuff like that. So you might find a software like one of those and realize I need to take a class, like a quick class at the Learning Annex, about how to do books using QuickBooks, like something simple from a small business development center about how to use Wave. Just something to get you to the point where you are out of the zone of not knowing what you don't know so that you can do your own bookkeeping. Everything else in life is exactly like that. It's exactly as concrete as that. The problem, of course, is that we like to abstractize things that aren't numbers. So the numbers are easy. They're concrete. Like you said, there's only 100 pennies in a dollar. Everybody understands that. So the idea of, like, I need to learn how to do bookkeeping so that I can do my bookkeeping before I can afford to hire someone to do my bookkeeping. We all get that. Well, the same thing applies to marketing or anything else that you want to approach doing. For me, it's operations. I am not a process-oriented person. I'm working on it. I'm trying to be one. But before I can hire someone or build in systems and processes, I need to learn what processes need to exist in a business, what things I can automate, what things I can't automate, how to write a good job description. I need to learn these things before I can hire someone to do them, not because you shouldn't hire someone, but because at the level that I am going to have to hire an expert, which is great. But I also want to make sure that I'm actually hiring an expert, which means I need to know what I don't know, right? Like it is very foolhardy to go out and try to hire someone to do some expert job and you have no concept of what the job is that they are doing. Like you, the business owner, have to know something. And so at the point at which you are ready to automate or ready to jump into something, if you think, oh, I want to hire someone to do my social media or my digital marketing, as if it is hiring someone to babysit your children, it's not. And so and even then, it's more like hiring someone to be your child's French tutor. You would want to make sure that that person knows how to speak French. A good marker would be, can you understand? Like, do you know what French sounds like? Would you be like, if you've never heard French in your life and you want to hire a French tutor, that person could be teaching your child Japanese and you would not know the difference if you've never heard French in your life. Like, you have to have some frame of reference for the thing that you're hiring out. And social media and digital marketing is no different than that. And so you need to get the knowledge to have the frame of reference so that you can hire it out. You know, like that's my rant on that. Because so many times we want to like skip steps. And I'm like, you have to know what you don't know before you can hire someone to do a thing for you.
Well, that's so true. I think that is literally so ingrained in part of my story because, you know, you learn that you either are going to sacrifice time or money, right?
Yeah.
So you either put money on it or you put your time on it. Well, when you're so busy, you're like, okay, I'll just pay people to do that.
Yeah.
But don't make the mistake that I did. I wasted, oh my God, hundreds of thousands of dollars paying all the wrong people to do the wrong things. And then I was so angry.
Yep.
And in the end, whose fault was it? Mine, totally mine, because I didn't map out. So that once I got really clear on this, okay, I need at least to know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah. That's basically it. Like you need to know enough to be dangerous. And it's not because you're going to be trying to check on that person and make sure they're doing their job. That's not it. It's because if you're truly going to hire someone to do a great job for you, you have to have some frame of knowledge. And it's the same thing with just about everything else that you do. You almost want to have enough knowledge to be dangerous so that whatever it is that you're hiring out or whatever it is you're about to embark on, you'll have a frame of reference for it. Because if you don't have a frame of reference, you will waste money and time. And it's not an or, you'll do both. You'll waste money and time. Exactly.
So for like the takeaways for what people should start like assessing today, I know off the top of my head, the first thing I would say that people need to do, like as soon as they leave us today, is to take a minute and write down like what it is that they really want. Like what, you know, like I think that just that top level question will clear up so much. So I think people need to get clear on that. What assessment stuff, like what do they need to start with today? To really,
I would say start with the visibility assessment, because we're going to jump into like, you know, today is all about thinking about your own limiting beliefs and roadblocks, but we're going to talk about actual visibility tomorrow. And so I would start with the assessment. So if you haven't already downloaded the workbook, go ahead and download the workbook. There's a 1-page assessment in there to help you kind of get an idea of where you are right now with your marketing. And then also go through that roadblocks and releasing limiting beliefs, because those things honestly are what's keeping you from floating. And then tomorrow we're going to move right into setting goals and things like that to make sure that we have an idea of what it is we expect to happen. And we'll talk about how to do that for visibility. Because like you said, how long should it take? We're going to talk about that tomorrow.
Right. Because people are like, okay, I just want to go fast. Well, great. Yeah. Like if you're starting at 0, anything is faster than that. Yeah. But like, here's the thing, like we can make it go fast as long as we're consistent and we're clear about where we're going. I always go back to the analogy of, thank goodness, these things saved my marriage. When Anthony and I first got married, I think we're going on 16 years of marriage this year. When we first got married, I have been everywhere in the world and I can figure out anything, but I do not read maps and I just kind of am a little bit intuitive. He wants to drive and then ask me where to go. My sensor does not work that way.
Mine too.
He would freak out and be like, oh, it's the wrong way. I'm like, let me drive. Oh, I can't let you drive. Like, so I always say then all of a sudden, it was literally 6 months after we got married, the phones all of a sudden had the GPS.
Yeah.
I said, hallelujah. That is the one reason we might not have made it in marriage. Because if you don't know where you are, which I'm like pretty grounded to where I am.
Yeah.
You gotta ask yourself where you are. But if you have no clue where you're going, your car, like your little GPS is not going to move out of your driveway.
Nope.
You can't say, oh, I'm just going to, I want to be successful. Yep. No.
Yeah. Yep.
So what does success mean to you?
Yeah.
What, like, are you attracting, do you need more staff? What type, like they're human. So what would they be looking for? What type of keywords? What if you're looking for clients, like all that stuff, you have to be very clear. And I'm so excited that you're going to walk us through that, because I do always take it back to the analogy of, I say to Anthony, thank God when we get in the car, thank goodness that we have the GPS, because don't ask me how to go if you have to drive, mister.
Yeah. I'm the same way, Tracy. I'm the same way. I'm like, my internal sensor is like, ding, 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 ding. That's north. Like I know where I am in space and time. And if I'm driving, I can get anywhere and I never get lost. But my partner also likes to drive. And so when he's driving, I'm just like, dear God, please use the GPS because unlike you, I do have a bit of a passenger seat, still internal GPS, and it'll keep us from getting too lost, but it's really but much better if I'm not arguing with him about where we're going. So he just put it on the GPS, and this works exactly the same way. Like you can't get where you're going if you don't know where that is, like where you want to go.
That's so funny. I'm a little bit of that driver where I'm like, oh, it's getting close. You sure you don't want to try it like that?
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, so yeah. But it is so true that way where I think so often we can intellectually understand that, but when it comes to, hey, what do you really want? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's like gonna go where life leads me. Great. But like, don't you want to design the life that you want?
Yeah.
Whatever. For personal business, all of it. So
yeah,
I think it's just really important to think those things through.
Yeah.
Is there anything specific that is the number one thing that you think we need to look at in that assessment?
I think going forward, I'd say the number one thing that we want to look at for tomorrow is, I think if you were going to do any of the one things, the first thing I have on there is to try to develop a set of keywords that your customers are looking for. So often it doesn't matter what platform, including Instagram that we're on, we're not using the right language. And so what we need to be focusing on for visibility's sake is using the proper language, the language of our customers, not our own language for what it is we do. So we can use a term like balayage, for example. You can call what balayage is 14 different things, but if you don't call it what the customer calls it, it doesn't matter because they're never going to find you.
You're going to get me on this rant. So well, this is like my number one issue in training salon owners, hairstylists. Clients don't care about what you call anything.
Nope.
Like you have to speak in a language of what, like the end result. And so that's why these kind of like, it's a perfect thing that's complicated. Some of the consumers now are educated because it's been talked about so much, but they don't really know what it is.
No, they don't.
Focusing on that you want a blonde that's like lived in, like you were a kid at the beach. Like people can picture that.
Yes, like a beachy blonde.
Like, I am like, what? I am a dark haired girl with very bleach blonde hair. Like that's people, that's a language people understand.
Yeah.
So I always am very, very direct about like, do you want it to be the color of like mocha or like a piece of caramel? Like I'm very descriptive about universal things rather than jargon. I cannot stand here. I can't stand hairdresser jargon, which that's like one of my number one things I train on. Can't stand tech jargon now that I do a lot in that space. I'm like, speak a universal language that people know what you're talking about.
Yep. So that would be my number one thing is that often we're just using language that doesn't fit our customer. And so if you could start thinking about that today, it'll take you so much further because it'll put you in a better position to actually communicate better with your customer.
I love that. Oh, that's so wonderful. And then anything else that we can do from the assessment that we should like any like quick things that I'm like, I could do it right now.
I would say, this is not on the assessment, but it should be. You need to update your image on all the platforms to look like you actually look right now. Just as if you're going to try to be visible, you should not have logos in replace of your face, which I see often. You should have your face and it should look like your face. It shouldn't look like someone else's face. It should not look like your face looked 20 years ago. It should look like your actual face because the more you look like yourself, the easier it is going to be to represent your business.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. And everyone can go do that today.
Everyone can go do that right now.
That is a quick win. I love it.
Yeah. Quick win.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Is there any other thing that you want to leave like in closing today? Because I'm so grateful for this time. I mean, I have like pages of notes. I'm so grateful.
No, I feel like we're ready for tomorrow. Like we are ready, set and go for everyone to jump right in tomorrow with setting goals. So hopefully everyone will download the workbook and be able to actually get some goal setting in there because I think it'll be fantastic.
Yeah, I'm so excited because now that we kind of get all this stuff out of the way that holds us back, it's just like, believe it's possible and we're going to go forward.
Yeah.
Now we can get to the really tactical stuff that, you know, we can measure. So that goes back to the 100 pennies in a dollar, right?
Yep.
My friend Daniel always says, numbers don't lie, people do.
Yeah.
So today we got to remove the stuff that is easy to lie to ourselves about.
Lie to ourselves about, right?
And tomorrow we can get like real clear. It's either 0 or it's 100. Which one?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yep.
So it's exciting. Well, I'm so grateful for your time. Cannot wait to see you tomorrow. Thank you guys for being here.
Yay. Thank you. Thank you all so much. And we will see you all tomorrow.
Yes. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday.
Yep.
Yeah. And the link is below to get the workbook if you don't have it yet.